If you're thinking of downsizing in today's market, there are three mistakes that people are making today that I'm seeing in the market right now. And it can either cost you time, it can cost you money, or it can cost you happiness, or maybe all three. The first is overpricing your home based on old numbers. That could be from 2022 or it could be from the BC assessment. The second is trying to time the market instead of trying to time your life. And the third is falling in love with a view or a building before figuring out a strategy. So I'm bringing up house prices here for the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. This is everything, all property types, and I can switch it to detached homes specifically here. Detached homes since 2022, the average detached home, the MLS HPI price was 1.746. Right now we're sitting at 1.374. That's a massive difference between the two. And even if we narrow it down to what happened in the last 12 months, you can see that April 2025, 1.507 was the detached home price for the Fraser Valley, and we're down to 1.374, like I said. Now, a lot of people use BC assessment for their basis on what their home should sell for. And I've said this before, and if you follow me in any of my other content, the BC assessment is only there to determine how much taxes you pay. It is not there to figure out what the bank will give you to lend on that home or what the market value of that home is in today's prices. Right now, we're sitting in May. Those BC assessments, they're actually starting to do them in the next few months for 2027. So today's BC assessment in May is already 8, 9, 10 months old. And as you can see here, market value, what people are paying for homes, is on a decline. The only time I use BC assessment is as a reference point to other sales. But then again, when you really think about it, I am still using other sales in the market to determine what pricing is. So when you overprice a home, you might get activity. And usually you do get activity in that first week, but then it peters off and nothing else happens. You can get showings, and maybe you're getting showing requests from people with represented buyers in the market, and that's great. But again, if that is not happening, you are more than likely overpriced in today's market. And with endless showings and a lot of work to step out of the house to keep the house clean, you are basically seeing that the market is rejecting your price. Being on the market for 60 to 90 to 120 days creates a lot of frustration for you and creates a lot of doubt for buyers, seeing that that market has rejected that price for that long of time. And I've used the slinky analysis. When a market is coming down, like we have seen in the past 12 months in the Fraser Valley, you need to get under the slinky in order to stop it. Unfortunately, if you keep on trying to chase a slinky down from the top, you are not going to stop it and it's going to continue to go down. So mistake number 2 is trying to time the market instead of trying to time your life and your ability to make this move a lot easier. And this one gets people stuck in their homes for years. They say, maybe I'll wait for home prices to come back. They say, maybe let's wait until rates change. And maybe let's wait until next spring. But the thing is, we can see sideways pricing. We could very well see sideways pricing for the next 5 to 10 years. And this is why I brought this chart up here. As you can see, pricing for residential real estate in the lower mainland, you can see here in 1994, it was sitting at about just over 400,000. And then we had to wait until 2003, basically, until we saw that 400,000 mark increase. So they waited 9 years for that mark to get back to where it was. And if 2022 was the peak, like we can see back in this chart here, 2022 being the peak in the Fraser Valley, that would leave us until 2031, until maybe home prices come back to these peaks. And I certainly think right now, at least the way the market is sitting, that there's really nothing in the next few years that is showing us why home prices should increase. A tough pill to swallow for a lot of people is that we've seen a very good bull run where waiting makes sense. Waiting is a lot easier when home prices continue to climb like they have since the beginning of this chart in 2005. It makes sense to wait because it always has. In the last 25 years, it always has made sense to wait till next year because every single time that's happened, maybe not this 2018 to 2020 brief period, it's always paid off. If we look at home prices in Canada as a whole, you can see that we had a peak in 1989 and then home prices crashed down, and it took over 13 years for home prices to correct to come back to that price point. Again, it's possible because the history can repeat itself that home prices could again take 13 years in Canada to come back to these 2022 levels. So instead of asking, can I time this market perfectly? You should be asking yourself, when does this make sense for my life, for our lives, for our family's life? And that should be the determining factor. And lastly, falling in love with a building, with a view before having a strategy in mind, before sitting down and understanding what the market is like and how to navigate it properly. These types of decisions, these types of fast decisions can get you into situations where you need to take a hit to sell your home to get into that dream place. And for some people, financially, that is okay because that risk or that benefit outweighs the damages to their finances. But sitting down with a realtor that is working with downsizers in today's market is going to make sure that you approach this market cautiously and with some education. It's important to understand what other homes in your neighborhood are selling for today's prices. And in a market like we're seeing right now with such low sales, you need a market expert that understands the nuances of each area to make sure that you understand how much you can actually get for your home. The best downsizing movers do not start with a listing, they start with a plan. A sit down with a realtor to figure out what's the best approach to make this happen sometime in the next 12, 13, 18 months is the forecast, is the plan that I've laid out with some people to make sure they are ready to sell when they're ready to sell and they know exactly where they're going to go. They've been eyeing a couple buildings. They figure out exactly which stratas are the ones that they want to move into, where they want to be able to walk to, what type of views and what type of units and layouts they want to see.